Welcome back, everybody, to What's on Tap Radio. I am here with Brian Turner of Goose Island Brewing Company, and they call you the Barrel Wrangler. What's that about?
That's my whole job is to deal with a barrel aging program. That's what I do 24/7.
So before we get into the barrel aging program, how long have you been with Goose Island?
A little over 2 years.
So tell me a little bit about what you do for Goose Island.
My main part of my job is to get the beer in and out of barrels and whatever else we're going to put in there and do it as good as possible. There's a lot to barrel aging beer that a lot of people I don't think realize it's an intense kind of thing, and it's not one of those where you just kind of wing it. We've been doing this for a long time, and we're good at it, and we can predict things. That doesn't mean that it's always ready. That's why you don't always see like Madame Rose coming out every year, because that beer takes longer. We've learned that. That took years to learn that. Lolita, that beer is great and predictable, and it's awesome. And you can, after maybe a year or 16 months, you have a delicious sour beer. That's not going to, pull the enamel off your teeth, but...
Yeah, I don't want to pull the enamel off my teeth.
Exactly. You don't want that kind of sour. You want a nice sour with a little bit of the fruit, and we end up with really, really great beers.
Talking to Brian Turner, the Barrel Wrangler, and I learned today that you guys were the first brewery to do barrel aging. Talk to my listeners a little bit about barrel aging.
It started out in the early 90s. It was Greg Hall had met the owner of Jim Beam and got barrels. It was one of those, they were sitting next to each other at an industry like lunch and started talking. Got barrels, and they're like, oh, wouldn't that be awesome to try to do this? They did it, and it started out really small. It was before we had the Fulton Brewery.
Now, when they first started, did they realize, like, okay, it's probably better to do a stout versus maybe a lager?
Yeah, and they had something in mind, and that evolved. I mean, it was one of those things it was like the 1,000th batch or something like, 2,000, I can't remember. But after that, it changed a little bit, but it became, what you now have is Bourbon County Stout. And
which is, by the way, amazing.
Yeah, it is an amazing beer. It is a whole lot of work. And I swear every barrel-aged beer, the harder you have to work on it, the better it tastes. There are beers that when we're making it, I just have nightmares about. And when it's done, it's incredible. And you don't want to like it because you were having nightmares about it. Then when it's done, it's amazing beer that you love. When you know how much work you put into it. And I mean, I think any brewer knows that feeling of you're doing this, it's a labor of love. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you're making something. And it's great things about that.
Talking to Brian Turner, Goose Island Brewing Company. What do you think about all these breweries that are it seems like every brewery is doing something barrel aged. How do you feel being a part of a brewery that created that? We
created a monster, and they want to do it. That's great. There's a lot of really good things that are happening, and a lot of fun things. It's not always something you can predict, and a lot of people don't have almost like the luxury of having as much barrel space as we have, and the amount of barrels where we can screw up on a small scale and it won't hurt us.
Sorry, I didn't turn my phone off. That's about the number one rule on What's on Tap Radio is turn the phone off, and I always break it.
So I applaud these guys. They're trying. I mean, they're doing it, and it's great. I've had so many good barrel-aged beers around the country, and it's crazy. I don't know if I would do it myself if I had if I was starting a brewery. Just the risk involved that I know of it's tough. It's great to go to a bar and actually drink the beer that you wrote the recipe for.
You got to feel proud in a way.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of it, and
especially seeing people enjoy it.
Yeah, having other people actually drinking it, and I can tell, and they're going up and talking to them that's a lot of fun. Goose Island, we still have that flexibility. We actually are still making like just fun little run of beers just to keep it fresh, and everybody loves them.
Well, I want to thank you for putting out great beers. And I want to thank you for your time and access with chatting with me and What's on Tap Radio. And keep making good beer, man. That's all I ask.
Thanks. It was fun chit-chatting with you.
All right. We've been talking to Brian Turner, the Barrel Wrangler of Goose Island. This is What's on Tap Radio. We'll be back in a few.